everyone, I'm Eleanor the Crochet Fairy, and today I will be teaching you how to make my lazy lace bandana. You will need worsted weight yarn. I use a blend of cotton, and then a secondary yarn that we will be using to make the flower. I use some scrap mohair, the Hannah Amy flower loom from Clover, which I have a link for in the description below, a 5mm crochet hook, and some scissors and darning needles. To start this project off, we are going to make a slip knot and then make a chain string of exactly 74 chains. Once you have your 74 chains, you're going to single crochet in the second chain from your hook by inserting your hook, yarning over, pulling through, and then yarning over and pulling through both loops. Then you're going to chain 2. You're going to skip the next chain, and you are going to work a cluster into the next chain. Cluster by yarning over, inserting your hook, yarning over, pulling through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 of them. Then again, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the same chain, yarn over, pull through. Then again, you're going to yarn over, pull through 2 of those loops, and then to end the cluster, you are going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that is how you make a cluster for this pattern. Then you're going to chain 2. Again, you're going to skip a chain, and in the next chain, you are going to single crochet. You're going to continue with this pattern of chaining 2, skipping a chain, and doing a cluster stitch into the next chain, chain 2, skip a chain, single crochet in the next chain, all the way down until you reach the end of this row. Once you've single crocheted in the final stitch of the row, you are going to go ahead and chain 2, turn your work, and single crochet in the first cluster, skipping the chain 2s from the previous row. And this actually counts as a decrease because the single crochet is now the first stitch of the row. The chain 2 doesn't count. And this will be the same for every row moving forward. Now to really start this row, chain 5, then you are going to skip the chain spaces and the single crochet, and you're going to single crochet directly into the next cluster stitch. And this is going to be repeated throughout this entire row, where you chain 5, skip the chain spaces in the single crochet, and then single crochet directly into the next cluster stitch. Repeat this process until you reach the final cluster stitch of the row, and again you're just going to chain 5 before you reach that, single crochet directly into that cluster, which also counts as a decrease because we are leaving behind that final chain 2 and single crochet and ending the row there. The next row start by chaining 2 and single crocheting in the chain 5 space, which again is a decrease. The chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch. Continue by chaining 2 and doing a cluster into the next single crochet. So cluster by yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into that same single crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And again, chain 2, single crochet in the chain 5 space, chain 2, cluster in the single crochets, repeat that all the way till you reach the end of the row. It's very similar to the first row. And then we're going to decrease by single crocheting into the chain 5 space, chaining 2, turning our work, single crocheting into that first cluster, which counts as a decrease, and we are going to repeat row 2. And the entirety of the rest of the bandana, you decrease at the beginning, decrease at the end, and you're either repeating row 2 or 3 until you only have 1 loop left, which should be the tip of the bandana, and I will show you once I reach that part myself. The final row of my bandana ends with a chain 5. I single crochet into the final cluster, chain 1, and then I cut and fasten the yarn. And this is the entirety of the bandana body. It should look something like this. And next we'll be starting on the ties. To start the ties, make a slip knot and make a chain string of 41. And in the second chain from your hook, you are going to slip stitch, and in each chain all the way across until you reach the end of the string. After slip stitching into the final chain, you're going to go ahead and grab your bandana, and we are going to be working across the flat border, not the tip. You are going to insert your hook into the corner. You're going to single crochet into that corner. And we're going to single crochet across the entirety of the flat border of the bandana. I like to work over my ends so I don't have to weave them in later, but that's totally optional and up to you. Once we reach the end and we've single crocheted in every stitch, we're going to chain 41, which is the second tie, and then slip stitch in the second chain from the hook and all the way across. After slip stitching into your final chain, go ahead and slip stitch into the corner of the bandana to stabilize the tie, and afterwards you may chain 1, cut and fasten your yarn, weave in any ends, and the body of the bandana and the ties are done. Next we will be moving on to the flower. I use the Hannah Amy flower loom for floral embellishments. I love this tool, but you can use whatever crochet applique you like. I will be using the small circular loom for this project and my scrap mohair yarn. Using this loom is very straightforward, but I will be filming myself using it just for anyone who's interested in this tool. And basically, you wrap the yarn around each post to make a petal. And then after you've worked around the entirety of the circle and woven your yarn around each petal, then you are going to use a string, whether it's a different color or the same string of yarn, which is what I did as the flower. You're going to take a string, weave the needle with it, and put that needle in the center of the flower, or as close to the center as you can get. Sometimes it gets stuck on the pegs and you just have to knock it off like so. Again, once you work through the center, you're going to work up through every single petal. And this is how you create the center of the flower. And after going upwards through the petal, then you just go back down through the center again. And after that, you are going to go up through the next petal, and you are going to continue this stitching process until you have worked up through every single petal on the loom. After working through your final petal, you can pop the little post piece off of the main body of the loom. You can pop the flower off of that, and then you are going to want to tie several knots to really secure the flower, and you have your finished applique. I sew my applique almost right at the very tip, right between the two centermost chain 5 holes. I tie a knot several times to really secure and fasten my applique so that it doesn't fall off. Then I weave in the ends, and voila, a finished piece. I really hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. It was my first one in a while, and if you want the written pattern, the link is in the description below.